is a special presentation of ABC Sports.
Over a century ago, the grassy fields of the South bore witness to the tragedy of the war between the states. Some of the most savage combat centered around Richmond, the capital of the Confederacy. Today, one of these Virginia pastures has been transformed into a battleground for high performance rather than high peril. Now, brother battles brother in mechanical, not mortal combat. The crackle of gunfire replaced by cackling exhaust. And emerging from the smoke are warriors in neon and dayglow, not blue and gray. History of a different sort is in the making here today in Dixie. In the tranquil surroundings of the lush rolling hills and lakes of Virginia, south of Richmond, near the Civil War battlefields, you'll find Virginia Motorsports Park. It's the scene today of round 6 of the 1996 NHRA drag racing season, the Pennzoil Nationals. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Gary Gerald, along with Steve Evans and Frank Hawley. Good to have you with us today for the second of 3 NHRA events to be seen here this season on ABC Sports. You know, a year ago, when the crews and the drivers came to Virginia for the first time, they were in a bit of a quandary. They didn't have a database of information regarding chassis settings and engine tunings for this particular racetrack. But oh, what a difference just 1 year has made. We've already seen new track records in all professional categories. And frankly, the performance level has been simply astounding. We start our coverage today with those 300-mile-per-hour guided missiles in Top Fuel.
Last season, Blaine Johnson in the family fueler from Santa Maria qualified #1 7 times, but was not able to parlay that into a victory until the last event of the year, finally finishing #5 in Winston points. What a turnaround in '96. He's already qualified #1 4 out of 6 races, including this weekend, and is at the top of the Winston point standings. Actually, he sees #1 from Kenny Bernstein 2 weeks ago in Atlanta, when of all things, Kenny failed to qualify. So Bernstein came to Richmond intent on making up lost ground, possessed by that, as a matter of fact. In round 1 action earlier today, it was Kenny Bernstein up against Cory McClenathan. McClenathan, a bit of a jump off the starting line. Bernstein covered him at half track. Bernstein engine went away. Cory Mack won it by 3 thousandths.
Well, obviously, he got me on the starting line, and when you do that, that's a driver mistake. You can't be late.
And no one knew what an ego bruiser that was better than the man that defeated him, Cory McClenathan. Also in round 1 action, in the near lane, the points leader, Blaine Johnson, up against Bruce Sarver, a rookie. Johnson knew that Bernstein was out. He had a chance to forge ahead further in the points and did it with an outstanding 471.
Boy, that's kind of scary going out first round doing that, but you know, that's the way we want to be, is aggressive this weekend and just bury them all if we can.
Another driver not particularly disappointed to see Bernstein out in round #1, defending Winston champ Scott Coletta. But in round 2, Scott has got, well, kind of a family feud on his hands. Here's Frank Hawley.
Two-time Top Fuel world champion Scott Coletta is doing great at this race. His car's been flying. In his first round victory over Top Fuel driver Bob Vandergrift, Scott ran a 4.74 second round, but in the second round, he's got some stiff competition. A guy named Coletta. He's racing his dad, Connie Coletta. I talked to Connie earlier, and he said in this round of competition, he's not going to cut his son Scott any slack.
So taking a look now at the Top Fuel ladder, Blaine Johnson and Cory Mack will be coming up. Joe Amato will go against Shelly Anderson. On the other side of the ladder, we've got a couple of great matchups as well. Larry Dixon and Eddie Hill, and the father-son combination, Connie Coletta against son Scott, the defending 2-time NHRA Top Fuel champion. But right now, it's Larry Dixon and Eddie Hill, Hill closest to the camera in the familiar Pennzoil colors.
Dixon may well be a force to be reckoned with here this weekend. He qualified #2 and is the most recent winner on the NHRA Tour 2 weeks ago in Atlanta, winning despite a huge wheel stand in the final round. In fact, wheel stands have been a problem for a lot of competitors, and part of that is due to a brand new Goodyear tire, only 2 races old, that keeps its footprint longer. It doesn't grow like the old tire did, so you have to compensate for that.
Intriguing matchup, Steve, when you consider the age difference between these two. Eddie Hill, at age 60, is just a phenomenon in this sport, and he's going against last year's Rookie of the Year, who now at the tender age of 29 is coming off that victory in Atlanta. Dixon, of course, driving for the legendary Don the Snake Prudhomme. It worked for Prudhomme since 1988. Steve mentioned qualified in the number 2 spot. He beats Mike Dunn in the opening round.
We saw how important driver reaction times can be in that race with Bernstein and Cory McClenathan. That weighs heavily on the minds of both of these men. 6,000 horsepower per vehicle. Eddie Hill with the reaction times of a much younger man, but with all the power is Dixon. A solid 476 at 288 miles an hour. 288 these days, Gary, is rather slow.
But that 288 miles per hour in this instance, plenty good enough to advance Larry Dixon. They complete for Eddie Hill. And another veteran, Joe Amato, 5-time Top Fuel champion, patiently waiting to roll to the starting line where he'll face Shelly Anderson when we come back.
You've got 700 horsepower trucks. You've got Craftsman tools. You've got heart-pounding, bone-rattling, eardrum-busting speed. What else do you need for a perfect Sunday afternoon? The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, brought to you by Craftsman. The only tools tough enough for Craftsman trucks.
Goodyear revolutionized wet traction design with AquaTread. Now, Goodyear introduces InfiniTread, the first tire with a lifetime tread life warranty. The new all-season InfiniTread. Its tread is guaranteed for as long as you own your car. Call 1-800-GOODYEAR.
Announcing Goodyear's Race Days Tire Sale. Save up to 25% on all Goodyear Eagles and all Goodyear Wranglers. Other Goodyear tires from $19.99. Get to Goodyear and save. And ask about InfiniTread with a lifetime tread life limited warranty.
The NHRA Pennzoil Nationals on ABC Sports. Brought to you by Craftsman. 2,200 hand tools made in America, guaranteed forever. Only at Sears. Fram oil filters. Fram, you can pay a little now or a lot later. DuPont Automotive Finishes, because high-performance cars need high-performance paint systems. And Goodyear, #1 in tires.
Back in Virginia, tremendous crowd on hand, both on the grandstand and the pit side of the racetrack as we get ready for our next round in Top Fuel. Joe Amato getting set to go against Shelly Anderson. This will be a good matchup. Amato qualified number 4 at 476. Shelly Anderson qualified in the number 5 spot at 477.
But better than that, in round 1 earlier, Shelly came out with a 474, as Amato actually got very lucky, smoked the tires, and still survived. Joe Amato started racing as an adult. Shelly Anderson, she was raised to race by her father, Brad, a many-time NHRA champion. Amato deep stages. That was unintentional. Amato was afraid to try to cut the light. He was staged so deep. Shelly Anderson into the final 4 with a 481 at 298. Amato's 484 wasn't even close due to his tardiness off the starting line. He was gun-shy, Gary.
And all you have to do is take a look at the lights on the Christmas tree in the upper right portion of the screen. You can see that he got in too far, then was hesitant. His reaction time, 0.2 of a second slower than Shelly Anderson. And Shelly, who's been struggling herself this year, but under new crew chief Larry Meyer, has taken a giant stride forward with a very impressive win.
You change crew chief, sometimes there's a ramp up.
There was. We had a problem beginning of the year. I have a great team. Larry's so smart. He didn't have a lot of time to come in and have a lot of practice runs. So after Houston, we've tested 9 passes. We went to Rockingham to test, and it seems to be coming together.
That testing paying a handsome dividend for Shelly Anderson and her team. Right now, it's that father-son battle here in the second round. Kenny Bernstein, who started his drag racing career way back in the early 1960s, going against his son, Scott, who's been a dominant force in Top Fuel the last couple of seasons. He qualified number 3 at an impressive 475, and he beat Bob Vandergrift Jr. in the opening round.
And as everything else in his life, Scott Coletta is going to have to earn this one. His father told him at the start of the season, you want your 3rd consecutive championship, it'll be over my carcass. They have raced in final rounds even, and Connie won't cut him any slack. Now, we're in Virginia. These two are from Michigan, and they sleep in their own beds at night. There's an airport next door. They use those little jets like we use rent-a-cars.
23 career wins between the two of them. 13 for Scott, 10 for Connie.
Connie with bragging rights on reaction time. The old man a huge advantage, but his motor blows up. Scott Coletta, 475 at 303 miles an hour. As his dad, Connie, attracts the attention of the emergency crew. They saw that fire, but it appears to be out.
Well, Connie Coletta showing the form that carried him to the finals in the season opener at Pomona with a great launch, a 488 reaction time to a 552. But you can see the motor on the left going away, and then suddenly, boom, a huge ball of fire.
You know, Scott, I think maybe Grandpa, as you call him, had you until he fireballed that baby.
Yeah, you know, he gets up for it. And, you know, I don't know what kind of lights were, but he must have had a good one. And mine was probably a normal 5.0 that I've been at here lately.
So with a touch of good fortune, Scott Coletta will advance to the 3rd round. Our last pair in the top fuel 2nd round, Blaine Johnson, qualified #1. That's a familiar story for him this year, the 4th time that he's accomplished that fact, going against Cory McClenathan. McClenathan in the number 8 spot. A little disappointed in a 4.82 elapsed time in qualifying.
They're disappointed with their entire season. In fact, Lee Beers, the crew chief you saw right there, has ordered a brand new race car to replace this Joe Gibbs-owned entry for the next event. Blaine Johnson, no one has a hotter hand in top fuel than the young man from Santa Maria, California. Cory Mack with a slight edge, but he had to get off the throttle. The car wanted to lose traction. He saved it nicely, but not quite quick enough. Johnson goes to the Final Four at 476. Not much speed, 285. He was burning up as well.
Well, this proves to be a rematch of the two men who were in the finals here last year. And Cory Mack with a little wisp of smoke there off the back of the tires as he was a couple of 100 feet out. And then you could see the motor going away for Blaine Johnson, but he clearly got to the line by more than a car length. And the defending champion McClenathan has been sidelined. Our matchups now have Shelly Anderson going against Blaine Johnson, while Scott Coletta will challenge Larry Dixon in the semifinal round.
Blaine, the fuse might have been about 100 feet short. Bit of a smoker.
Yeah, we have been having a little problems with dropping cylinders on the top end, and when it gets a little
leaned it out?
No, we just left it the same for that run. So probably spun the tires a little bit, dropped the cylinder. Be all right.
Well, the funny cars are also getting ready to go at it here at Richmond. John Force warming up his car for an upcoming battle, but his opponent is struggling. Let's check in with Frank.
There's a major thrash going on in Gary Bolger's pit area. Now, Gary's 1st round race, he had a real problem. The supercharger exploded, caused a fire, and did a lot of damage to the engine going down the track. Now, that's repairable because most of the teams have spare parts and spare engines, but the real problem was this. The funny car body has sustained heavy damage. It ripped the front end, broke the windshield, and did a lot of damage to the body. That's not easily repaired. Now, the NHRA rules say that Gary can put a different body on. He could borrow one from another racer. He can change the engine, change the clutch, change the rear end, change anything he wants, except the chassis. The framework needs to remain the same. So if he can find enough parts and pieces and another body to put on this chassis, he'll be racing John Force in the next round.
The challenge for Bolger's crew is huge.
Look closely. Can you tell where this car's beautiful finish was severely damaged, then repainted at a DuPont Assurance of Quality Repair Center? Okay, here's a clue. DuPont, we make problems disappear.
Good as they are, if you think added engine protection only comes in a bottle, this will rock your lifters. the new Fram double guard oil filter with DuPont Teflon additive already in it. The same amount of Teflon protection as a quart of the leading engine treatment. Now one filter does 2 jobs to fight dirt, driving extremes, and startup wear for a lot less than using almost any of the leading bottles. The new Fram double guard oil filter with DuPont Teflon already in it.
It's a simple concept. The bigger the hole, the easier air can flow through it. That's the idea behind Dynamax, the performance exhaust with the open airflow. Dynamax. Its patented open design maximizes your engine's full power potential, so you can really haul. Performance exhaust systems, engineered by Walker. Dynamax.
There are a lot of different names a Chrysler Corporation vehicle can go by. Whether it's on the track, off the track, or on the road. But there's only one name you need to know to keep them going. Get real. Get Mopar.
Well, the fans in Virginia are pumped as they await action from those cantankerous coupes known as funny cars. Let's check in with Steve.
5-time funny car champion John Force is NHRA's rock star. After 20 years of hard work, the former truck driver has the big house on the hill in California. He's got a tour bus Hootie and the Blowfish would kill for. He's also acquired a bulldog of a rival and a guy named Al Hoffman. Al has now hired a personal trainer for on and off the racetrack. And Force said in print, if Al diets, I'll diet. If Al jogs, I'll jog. If Al gets an earring, I'll get an earring. Well, in round number 1, the rivalry continued earlier today. It was John Force, the #1 qualifier, 5-time funny car champion, up against Tom Hoover, the blue car, in the far lane. Hoover lost traction, was never really in it. Force advanced with an outstanding 5:04 at a huge speed of 297 miles an hour. Also, early today in round 1, this was that bulldog I talked about. He wants that bus Force has, Al Hoffman. He was in the near lane opposite Japanese national Kenji Okazaki. Okazaki was in it to half track, but at the far end it was Al Hoffman at 5:07, 292 miles an hour, earring and all.
I got a feeling I'm going to pull that thing out. Every time I pull my helmet off, I'm ripping it out and taking half my ear out. So
Force had something to do with that.
Well, Force wants wear an earring. I guess he's going to have to get another excuse.
Al again has been had by John Force, who will face off with Gary Bolger in round 2, providing Bolger can find a body that'll fit that car. Rookie Brad Platt, who has never won a round up against Mark Oswald. Cruz Pedregon will face off with Gary Densham, and Al Earring Hoffman against Del Worsham.
Huge crowd on hand to watch this second round in funny car competition, and the first pair will be watching Mark Oswald and Brad Platt. Oswald in the near lane in his Dodge Avenger, qualified in the number 12 spot at a 5:22. He beat Chuck Etchells in round number 1. While Platt in his Olds Cutlass qualified right behind him, the number 13 position at 5:23, and he ousted Tony Pedregon in what was a huge upset because Pedregon was coming off a victory in Atlanta. Let's go back and take a look at that matchup.
Pedregon in the John Force team car was in the near lane. Remember, Brad Platt had never won a round. Tony got the jump. Tony lost traction, got close to the center line, and Brad Platt just stared and stared his way all the way down a quarter mile for his first ever win light in NHRA championship competition.
And certainly the biggest surprise of the competition thus far. So what will Platt do now in the far lane against the veteran Oswald?
Oswald an early lead. Platt is right there. Platt on the verge of losing control and finally has to abandon the race. Oswald wins it at 5:33, 278 miles an hour. He too shut off just a little bit early. Brad Platt was in big trouble, Gary.
Steve, you mentioned he was all over the racetrack, and we'll get a great opportunity to see here the strong launch, but right about here things started to go sideways. He made the corrections. He saved it. A close call for Brad Platt. So we get ready now for our next pair in funny car. We're looking at Gary Dencham, who qualified in the number 10 position. He ousted Jeff Arend in the opening round. And the man he goes against, Cruz Pedregon, the 1992 funny car champion, driving for Joe Gibbs Racing, qualified in the number 2 spot very impressively.
Al Hoffman is not the only man frustrated by John Force. Cruz Pedregon had the number 1 spot in his pocket that pays $4,000 in the final session alongside Cruz. John Force took it away. Gary Dencham, the first time he has had the finances to compete on the entire NHRA tour. The 30-year veteran, Gary Dencham, school teacher in the far lane, Cruz Pedregon, near lane, both from California.
Pedregon in the Pontiac, Dencham in the Oldsmobile.
Neither driver brilliant off the starting line. Dencham at a slight edge, but it is all Pedregon with a sizzling 507, 293 miles an hour. Pedregon serves warning here in round number 2 that he is ready for anybody with that 507.
A 5-time winner last year for Joe Gibbs. Here's Gibbs' reaction to this particular advancement by Pedregon. Cruz is now standing by with Steve.
Well, Cruz single-handedly keeping Mickey D's hopes alive. Boy, you stepped on it to a 507.
Wow. Well, we knew it had it in it, Steve. We threw a clutch out of it in the first round there, and we just going back to the basics. We were running good all through qualifying, and so it's back to where it needs to be. Those guys are hopping and Force are running, so it's going to be a tough day.
Very competitive day.
Cruz Pedregon trying to regain some confidence after a very frustrating 1996 season thus far. Well, one man who's been solidly on track all year, John Force, waiting to see if Gary Bolger will make it.
Kenny Bernstein, Budweiser King, top fuel dragster. Who says you need wings to fly?
Carbon monoxide isn't the only thing to worry about coming from your tailpipe, because with every stroke of your engine, motor oil is being vaporized into exhaust, leaving less and less protection. That's why there's Castrol GTX 10W30. Of every leading 10W30, Castrol provides the most protection against volatility burn-off. So use Castrol, or watch more of your protection go up in smoke. Castrol GTX, the most protection against volatility burn-off.
It's swing time in Texas, and golf's top players are back in the saddle again. It's the final round of the GTE Byron Nelson Classic today on ABC.
So John Force is now strapped into his Pontiac, and one question has been answered. He will have no Gary Bolger alongside. The Bolger crew worked so diligently to try to make repairs, but they couldn't get it done in time, so it's a single run now for John Force.
Force has been in the final round of every race. Only Al Hoffman has beaten him. That was the opening race of the year, and his teammate Tony Pedregon got him 2 weeks ago. All he has to do to win here is stage the car. But obviously that is not the Force way. Oh, John hammers it home to a 507 at 298 as if Hoffman was in the other lane.
Flirting with that 300-mile-per-hour mark. Another impressive round for John Force. And getting ready for our next pair and their burnouts, we're looking at Al Hoffman, the dreaded rival of Force. Hoffman goes against Del Worsham. Seeing the cockpit fill with smoke, that was on board with Hoffman, and here's a lengthy burnout by Worsham. Yep, John Force is one who's never at a loss for words. Let's see what's coming up in this conversation with Steve Evans.
Where's your earring, Force?
No earring. Leave that to Al. But
507.
yeah, it's a good hot rod today. It's we're going out there and doing what Castrol wants it to do. It just moves around a little bit, just trucks right down, right in the eyes. Don't even stumble.
Force with no earring, at least for the moment. Del Worsham qualified in the number 11 spot. He beat Whit Bazemore in the opening round of competition. And Al Hoffman, the number 3 qualifier, a solid 509. He beat Kenji Okazaki in round 1.
Al Hoffman, heavily sponsored professional racer. Del Worsham, just a kid from California with a hot rod trying to make a living. His father, Chuck, crew chief on the car, moves away. Worsham can be dangerous. He cannot afford to try to run those O's, but he'll make you beat yourself. Staging very, very carefully. The front wheels positioned in the beams. Pre-stage lights on. Worsham in, Hoffman in. Worsham drilled Hoffman on the Christmas tree. Can he hang on? Hoffman makes a desperate charge. It is not enough. A slower elapsed time wins the race. A 5:16 defeats a 5:14 because Worsham was on his toes.
Well, Steve, so many times we talk about the importance of those reaction times. Here's the classic example. Worsham getting away, and even though Hoffman had a quicker, faster run, it's Worsham who advances by just that much. So that sets up the following semifinal pairings. Del Worsham against Cruz Pedregon. Cruz gets the lane choice, a 5.7 versus a 5.16. And Oswald against Force, and Force also with a 5.07 has lane choice.
That pretty little hole shot made you an extra $500, and you can use it.
I'll tell you what, that's beautiful. After what I did last race, I let down the guys. Then I was late first round and got a big break there, and everything felt good. The car ran good. It's the best run I ran on the weekend. It was still spinning, but I'll tell you, my crew, my dad, my sponsor, John Fink, they're the best.
Keep going, buddy.
Terrific job by 26-year-old Del Worsham. And look at Hoffman. He's trying to get rid of that ear ring. A frustrated drag racer who just was eliminated by Worsham, and he can't even get the ear ring out. Now the frustration factor has been multiplied tenfold. Warren Johnson, meanwhile, the defending Pro Stock champion. Get ready to turn our attention to the factory hot rods next.
Good as they are, if you think added engine protection only comes in a bottle, this will rock your lifters. The new Fram double guard oil filter with DuPont Teflon additive already in it. The same amount of Teflon protection as a quart of the leading engine treatment. Now one filter does two jobs to fight dirt, driving extremes, and startup wear for a lot less than using almost any of the leading bottles. The new Fram double guard oil filter with DuPont Teflon already in it.
The cars keep getting faster. And drag racing keeps getting bigger. And so does the one parts store serious enough to be the only official auto parts store in the history of the NHRA. Western Auto. And Western Auto's new Parts America.
You just heard some wild talk, now you want to go fight. If I don't see you before we leave, goodbye, Maggie.
The first chapter in the Lonesome Dove epic is coming to television. Edward James Olmos, Brian Dennehy, Keith Carradine, F. Murray Abraham, Harry Dean Stanton, Patricia Childress, David Arquette, Jennifer Garner, Johnny Lee Miller. The event of May.
You want to be free? Kill me.
Larry McMurtry's Dead Man's Walk, tonight on ABC.
It's colorful, cultural, and classic. The people, places, and things that make D.C. a great city to live and work. Celebrate Washington, Monday on News 7 at 5.
When you pick out new glasses, that's a big decision, but I can make sure you end up happy. You look great. Customers are very comfortable knowing that they have a guarantee at Lens Crafters. I wanted to bring these back. If you end up having second thoughts about your new glasses, you can always come back. No problem. I can replace them, or I can refund your money. At Lens Crafters, no hassles. We'll do whatever it takes to make you happy.
Oh, they look great.
It's not just a guarantee, it's a promise.
Lens Crafters, helping people see better, 1 hour at a time.
It's every commuter's nightmare. The traffic, congestion, the hassle. Is driving around Washington driving you crazy?
It gets so aggravating. 7's
on your side as News 7's Greta Cruz takes a look at the past, present, and future of roads in our area.
Is it worth all the headaches of the travel? No.
The commuter craze. Monday on News 7 at 6. Mike Cairns on your side with News 7 Sports.
You know, no day at the drag races is complete without a stroll down Manufacturers Row, where you find all kinds of great displays and some unique hands-on opportunities, including a chance to change a Winston Cup stock car tire. And as quickly as this young man is showing us his skills here, keep in mind that in less than half that time, the pro stockers can get down the quarter-mile strip. That's our next category we're covering. We check in with Steve.
Three-time champion Warren Johnson, who almost lives in this trailer, has long been known as the professor of pro stock. But this season, he's the nutty professor, driving